Perfection or not? Now that is an ADHD conundrum and a dilemma we are having to confront. Get caught up in the endless quest for perfection and risk missing the boat, or release Attention Talk video with its imperfection. We say done is better than perfect and are releasing Attention Talk video as is. We believe good content is good content. So what if we have a few production glitches? If you have ADHD, follow our lead. Don't use perfectionism as a reason to procrastinate. Welcome everybody to this Attention Talk video. With us today is career counselor Wilma Fellman, and our topic tonight is ADHD moments, aha moments of a job inventory, gaining valuable insight from information and patterns. Wilma, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
I'm really excited about this particular edition of Attention Talk video because I think this is going to be kind of fun. Can you explain what a job inventory is and why it's important to complete one? And we can talk about like how you use it kind of in the job process.
Yes. In trying to figure out what we should do with our lives, we want to take a look at what our strengths are, what our challenges are, and try and come up with types of jobs that are going to line up with that. For many adults with ADD, they've gone through a series of jobs already that haven't worked for them. And in order to stop that pattern, we need to stop, take a look at a job inventory, which simply means dissecting all of the different jobs that you might have had so far in terms of what went well and what went maybe not so well, and break them down into tiny little pieces and put all of the positives in one pile and put all of the challenges in another pile, and take a look at where we keep repeating the same types of gotchas on a job that causes us to mess up, and where along the way does that mess up happen.
Now, these patterns and these things and these characteristics, I think a lot of people would kind of jump and say, you know, they would look at circumstantial things, but you're talking about those, but also maybe something, you know, it seems like I am at about 18 months, that's when I start to have a problem in my job, which is like a timing thing. That would be a characteristics too of a job to say what's going on and why is it always last that long. Is that accurate?
Yes. What we do is we start with the most recent job experience that you've had. We talk about describe a typical day for me of what you did, and in great detail. So where a client might say to me, well, you know, I went in and I did law things, or I did accounting all day. I would break it down and say, well, exactly what time did you get to work and what did you do first?
Yes.
So that they get the idea that we're going to go very, very slowly through this process, and we're going to listen to things like how much interaction did you have with your coworkers, how much interaction with your bosses, how much downtime did you have during the day, if any, and were you by the water cooler first thing in the morning talking about a movie, or did you hit the floor running and there were no breaks during the day? We're going to get a sense of the pace that you went at, and whether that was one of the things you liked about the job or one of the things that totally wore you out at the end of the day.
Yep. It's interesting to me because this reminds me of somebody I had coached a couple years ago, and we kind of talked about how this person would kind of go into the office. It was a paper job, but it was interesting. They would go around and kind of greet everybody and basically never sit down to their desk till they exhausted like all the people stuff first. And it was kind of really telling, at least to me, to hear those patterns. It was like that particular paperwork was the last thing that this individual ever wanted to do. but she jumped instinctively right to the spending time with people and getting to know what's kind of going on, which ultimately gave us a clue for her casting in terms of where she should go,
Yes.
because that those instincts, that was the first thing she did first, was probably the stuff that she enjoyed the most. In that, what I've described, is that make some sense to what, in congruent with what you're describing?
Yes, that's exactly it. Now, of course, in some jobs there isn't the discretion that you're describing. They Some people have to clock in at a certain time.
Uh-huh.
They have to do task A first, task B second, and so the purpose of a job inventory is to take a look at how did the day go, what things did you like the most about your day, which things did you least like,
Yep.
and why. And we circle all of the pluses. We put in bright red or yellow all of the challenges. And what we typically find in an adult is that if you go back to the job just before that and the one just before that, there are so many similarities, including where along the way did the job start to go sour.
Uh-huh.
And as you said, it can be an energy thing where the ADD adult is able to kind of fake it for a few weeks
Uh-huh.
or even months sometimes. And then they are depleted, and then their work starts to go downhill. Or they're many adults with ADD are very good at um, pretending that they understand something when they don't.
Uh-huh.
They've learned that skill when they were in school.
Yep.
And so that can only go so far, and it does catch up with you. So finding out where along the way it started to not feel good or started to not go well with your employer is absolutely invaluable information
Yep.
for moving forward.
It's interesting because as you describe this, what I'm hearing is, as you start to learn the characteristics of what works and what doesn't work, it jumps out at me because in working with some people on my side, at first, some with ADD get a little frustrated because it doesn't necessarily tell you what job you should do. But I sometimes find the right one is really mostly figuring out what you shouldn't do first. So you can begin to rule out a lot of stuff based off of that inventory first, which narrows things down and then makes it easier for you to figure out what might work. Does that make any sense to you?
Oh, it makes a lot of sense. Absolutely.
So it's a little counterintuitive. By this process, the value at first is like learning what not to do, but you'll ultimately get to what you should do. But the cool part about it is its benefits or not is obvious. Like, I really would like somebody to tell me what I should do, but the cool part is at first it will tell you what not to do so you don't repeat the mistake.
Exactly.
Now, this
Exactly.
job inventory, it also sounds to me that it's probably a person's probably really pretty close to it, so either a coach or a career counselor or somebody's really probably the best at walking somebody through with this because they know the questions to ask to draw out these types of things or to notice patterns, because obviously if you're involved, it's so close to you, sometimes it's difficult to recognize. And I say that because I when I talk to people, when they're really good at something, most don't know what it is because it comes so easy to them that they think everybody can do it, so they don't know they're
Yes.
good at it. So in these types of situations, when you're looking for what works, you might not recognize it because it's so easy you don't recognize where somebody else could pull that out.
Exactly. Yes. You want to have someone that has a little distance from you, that won't accept a global answer from you as enough, because you really do want to dissect the job and get into all the particulars that that maybe make this job different from all others or fall into that same category. And when we're too close to it, we just think that every job is so different, and we don't see our part in it, and the fact that we've taken ourselves into all of these jobs, and we are who we are.
Yep.
So we do want to pull apart in very tiny detail. It doesn't take a really long time to do a job inventory like this, but for individuals with ADD, I've told people that I think it might be the single most important step in the long process of finding out what's really going to work for you, so that you don't continue to have situations that don't end well.
Yep. And I got one other example that I kind of like to walk through a little bit, woman. You can kind of comment on this to see if we can give everybody a picture what this looks like. I was working with a woman one time who said she was creative, which is a global answer.
Yes.
And I was like, well, what do you mean creative? Like, do you write music jingles? Well, no, I don't do that. Well, so, do you paint? Well, no, I don't do that. And as we started asking for more specificity, we got down, well, she was really visual. Was it three-dimensional, two-dimensional? Well, no, really two-dimensional. And was it contrasting colors or not? Well, no, it was a little bit of everything. And how did she come up with her ideas? Did she start with a white sheet of paper, or did she find other things and pull it together like a collage? Or was it she would edit something? And as we started to drill down, we got to, well, she's creative when it comes to two-dimensional things with contrasting colors, where she gets the content from a variety of places. So we call that a collage.
Right.
It was done. I
Right.
said, well, what do you do for a living? Well, I put together communication materials for insurance companies. And I thought, wait a second, a brochure or communication, it's a two-dimensional creative type thing where you're grabbing things and put it together. And as we started to define that, we started to realize that she could create copy and artwork and stuff, but that wasn't her creativity. And when she ventured out of that realm, it was more challenging for her. And when she agreed to do that stuff, to take it on was harder. Whereas if she stuck with what she knew, it was the right job and a fun job. So that I share that because that's the level of detail sometimes that we're talking about by asking more specific questions, so we can isolate some of this stuff to know what exactly we're looking for.
I think that was a really good example of how detailed one needs to get with an adult with ADD. And another way that you could do it that throws the responsibility on them is to have them imagine a day when they have absolutely no place they have to be and nothing that they have to get done, and no one's expecting them. If you're saying that you're creative, what would your best day look like? What would you do with this day? And it sometimes gets them to come up with that blank canvas and start filling it in.
It can give you some clues. So, well, Wilma, I really appreciate you kind of come on. This has been it's been very insightful. It really makes a lot of sense, and I think it's probably a step in the process, particularly those with ADHD, kind of skip over. But those historical jobs that you've been in and those experiences, there's a lot of really, really good information. And if you go through a job inventory with a career counselor or maybe a coach or maybe even somebody around you that's willing to kind of help you get to the detail, it really can help you in the job process.
Yes, it will. It really will.
So, Wilma, again, thanks for being on the show, everybody. And again, you can catch more of Wilma if you listen to or look at Attention Talk Radio. We've done several interviews with her on related topics. Just go to attentiontalkradio.com. And with that, Wilma, thank you very much.